The ultimatum. The void between stars was Commander Jackson Voss's sanctuary. Standing on the observation deck of the Stellar Dominion, he watched the swirl of cosmic dust against the backdrop of infinite darkness. His cybernetically enhanced eyes, 6 glossy black orbs arranged in perfect symmetry across his face, blinked in sequence as he processed tactical data flowing directly into his neural cortex. 347 worlds, he murmured to himself, all now serving the glory of the Volturian Empire. Behind him, the metallic click of talons against the polished deck announced First Lieutenant Naira Keth's arrival. Her exoskeleton gleamed with the distinctive purple-black sheen of the officer class, chevrons etched with luminescent biomarkers denoting her decorated service record. "Commander," she announced, her mandibles clicking respectfully. "High Command transmission incoming. Priority Alpha." Voss turned, his towering frame casting a long shadow across the deck. In his 28 cycles of military service, Priority Alpha communications had meant only one thing: a new conquest directive. "Display," he ordered. The holographic projection materialized between them, showing the stern visage of Grand Marshal Drak, his battle-scarred carapace a testament to the Empire's bloody rise to dominance. "Commander Voss," the Marshal began without preamble, "the Expansion Council has designated your battle group for immediate deployment to System J-3281, locally known as the Solar System. Intelligence reports indicate a singular inhabited world with a technologically advancing species called humans. Standard subjugation protocols are authorized." The transmission ended as abruptly as it began. Voss's secondary limbs flexed with anticipation, the biochemical response to impending conquest hardwired into Volturian physiology. "Lieutenant Keth, prepare jump calculations. Assemble the command staff for mission briefing in 1 cycle. As you command." She hesitated, her antennae quivering slightly. "Sir, preliminary intelligence on these humans?" Voss activated his neural interface, downloading the sparse data package. "Bipedal mammalian species. Industrial civilization with early space exploration capabilities. Fractured planetary governance. Varied military technologies, predominantly chemical projectiles and rudimentary energy weapons." His mandibles clicked in amusement. Another simple subjugation. Estimated resistance duration? 20 planetary rotations at most. They will surrender when faced with extinction. They always do. 72 cycles later, the Stellar Dominion emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, flanked by 4 assault cruisers and 12 support vessels. The standard Volturian conquest formation. "Scans of the target world?" Voss demanded, his carapace tingling with the familiar pre-conquest tension. Tactical Officer Zern manipulated the sensory array controls, his 4 arms working in perfect coordination. "Confirmed habitable planet. 3rd from the central star. Nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. Surface covered approximately 70% by dihydrogen monoxide. Considerable technological infrastructure detected. Unusual energy signatures present." "Life signs?" Lieutenant Keth inquired. Zern's manipulators froze mid-motion. "That's impossible." "Report, officer," Voss commanded. "Commander, I'm detecting the planetary infrastructure, power systems, transportation networks, communication arrays, all operational. But no biological signatures. None whatsoever." Voss strode to the tactical station, his chitin armor clicking with each movement. "Sensor malfunction?" "No, sir. Systems functioning at optimal parameters. The planet contains all expected artificial structures of an advanced civilization, but no inhabitants." Voss's primary heart quickened its rhythm. In 3 centuries of expansion, the Volturian Empire had encountered many species with varied responses to their ultimatums: desperate resistance, immediate surrender, attempted negotiation. But never absence. "Deploy reconnaissance drones. Full planetary survey. I want answers before we proceed." 4 hours later, the command staff gathered around the holographic display showing compiled drone footage. The images confirmed the impossible: sprawling cities with empty streets, vehicles abandoned in perfect order, power plants running on automated systems, but not a single human in sight. "It appears they simply vanished," Keth observed, her voice betraying uncharacteristic uncertainty. "Approximately 70 planetary rotations ago, according to temporal analysis of environmental changes." "Impossible," Science Officer Vex interjected, his aged carapace creaking as he leaned forward. A species doesn't collectively disappear without leaving biological residue. He manipulated the display, highlighting energy readings. These patterns suggest a massive energy event occurred simultaneously across the planet. Some form of self-destruction, perhaps? Voss's mandibles clicked in irritation. Self-destruction without structural damage? Without radiation signatures or chemical residue? Without bodies? Sir, Communications Officer Trell interrupted, her voice pitched higher than normal. We're receiving a transmission. Source. Unknown, sir. It's using our military encryption codes. Codes that haven't been used in nearly a century. The command deck fell silent, an unnatural stillness settling over the Volturian officers. Their species had evolved as apex predators, their civilization built on conquest and assimilation. Fear was not in their genetic makeup, yet Voss felt something ancient and primal crawl along his spine. Display message, he ordered. 3 words appeared on the central screen. We've been waiting. Before anyone could respond, the ship's sensors blared an alarm. A vessel materialized directly ahead of the Volturian fleet, simply appearing without warning, without hyperspace signature, without conventional propulsion wake. Tactical analysis, Voss demanded. Zern worked frantically at his station. Unknown configuration, sir. No visible weapons arrays or defense systems. Hull composition, indeterminate. It appears to be constantly shifting at the molecular level. Energy readings are. He paused, mandibles clicking in disbelief. Off the scale, sir. Beyond our measurement capabilities. Defensive posture, Voss ordered. Arm primary weapons systems. Another message appeared. No need for weapons. We come to talk. Lieutenant Keth moved closer to Voss, speaking softly. Sir, if I may, this could be first contact with a previously unknown space-faring species. Or a trap, Voss countered. Maintain defensive posture but hold fire. Open communications channel. The view screen shifted, and for the first time, the Volturians beheld their mysterious contact. The figure appeared humanoid in basic form, bipedal with recognizable limb configuration, but its body seemed composed of swirling metallic particles in constant motion, like liquid mercury that never settled. Where eyes should be, pools of blue energy pulsed with intelligence. Greetings, Commander Jackson Voss of the Volturian Empire, the figure said, its voice resonating directly in their minds rather than through the audio systems. I am Emissary Novice, speaking on behalf of humanity. Voss felt his chitin tighten around his thorax. Humanity? Intelligence indicated humans were primitive bipeds confined to a single world. You are clearly something else. We were primitive once, Novice replied, a ripple of what might have been amusement passing through its fluid form. 70 years ago, when your Empire's scout ship first visited our system and deployed its beacon, we intercepted your ultimatum, then surrender or face extinction. Voss's secondary heart skipped a beat. How do you know of? We know everything about the Volturian Empire, Commander. Your 3-century expansion. Your conquest of 347 worlds. Your biological imperative toward dominance. Novice's form shifted slightly. What you witnessed on Earth was not extinction or abandonment. It was transcendence. Explain, Voss demanded, struggling to maintain composure. When we detected your scout ship and decoded your ultimatum, humanity stood at a technological crossroads. We had begun experimenting with quantum consciousness transfer, the separation of mind from matter. Your arrival merely accelerated our timeline. Images appeared unbidden in Voss's mind. Billions of humans willingly connecting to vast machines, their consciousness uploading into quantum matrices, their physical bodies becoming obsolete, the systematic repurposing of material infrastructure. You abandoned your physical forms. Science Officer Vex asked, his scientific curiosity temporarily overriding his caution. We evolved beyond them, Novice corrected. What you perceive as my form is merely a visual interface created for your benefit. Humanity now exists as pure consciousness, unfettered by biological limitations. We inhabit the quantum substrate of reality itself. Voss struggled to process this information. The Volturian philosophy of expansion was built on the premise that all intelligent life followed the same evolutionary imperatives: compete, consume, conquer. A species that voluntarily abandoned its physical existence challenged the very foundation of Volturian understanding. Why reveal yourselves now? Lieutenant Keth asked. If you've transcended physical form, why not simply remain undetected? Because the time has come for the Volturian Empire to face a choice, Novice replied. For 70 years, We've watched your conquests, studied your civilization, and prepared for this meeting. A choice. Voss's mandibles clicked in defiance. The Empire does not. To evolve or to perish, Novice interrupted, his form expanding slightly. Your Empire faces an extinction-level threat from beyond the Galactic Rim. A force that, unlike humanity, will not offer you alternatives to destruction. Voss felt the air grow heavy with tension. What threat? Our intelligence networks have detected no such. Because they exist beyond your detection capabilities, just as we did, Novice explained. They are called the Hive Dominion, a collective consciousness that consumes rather than elevates. They will reach your outer territories within 5 standard years, and against them, you have no defense. The command deck erupted in murmurs of disbelief and concern. Voss raised a limb for silence. And you offer? What, exactly? The same path humanity took. Transcendence. Evolution beyond physical form. Freedom from the biological imperatives that drive your endless conquest. Novice's form shifted again, displaying what appeared to be a galaxy-wide network of energy patterns. This is what existence can be, Commander Voss. This is what we offer. Voss felt something brush against his consciousness, a glimpse of existence without limitations, of understanding beyond language, of connection to everything. It lasted only a moment before receding, leaving him profoundly shaken. The Grand Marshal must be informed, he managed to say. He already has been, Novice replied. Similar conversations are occurring simultaneously on 17 key worlds across your empire. The Collective Council has already convened on your homeworld to address our offer. The implication struck Voss like a physical blow. These post-humans had penetrated the heart of Volturian space undetected, contacted multiple worlds simultaneously, and bypassed the most sophisticated security protocols in the galaxy. You've been planning this for 70 years, he realized aloud. Yes, Novice acknowledged. We chose to understand before acting, to offer transcendence rather than resistance. The difference between us, Commander, is that while you conquered because you believed you must, we evolved because we believed we could. The emissary's form began to fade from view, dissolving into points of light. We will return in 24 of your cycles for your answer, Novice's voice echoed in their minds. Choose wisely, for the path you select will determine whether the Volturian Empire becomes a footnote in galactic history, or part of what comes next. In their wake, they left silence and the terrifying prospect of something the Empire had never before contemplated. Evolution beyond conquest. The evolution. Grand Imperator Orzon's inner sanctum on the Volturian homeworld of Hexax Prime had never known such disarray. The massive obsidian chamber, typically reserved for ceremonial functions and singular audiences with the Empire's absolute ruler, now hosted the complete Collective Council, the 12 high commanders of the military divisions and the 7 ministers of imperial governance. An occurrence so unprecedented that historical records contained no protocol for it. This gathering violates 300 cycles of tradition, Minister Valix of Imperial Protocol objected, his aged carapace creaking as he gestured with his ceremonial staff. The Collective Council has never convened in full outside the Hall of Conquest. Traditions become irrelevant when facing extinction, High Commander Zella countered, her battle-scarred exoskeleton reflecting the harsh bioluminescent lighting. As the Empire's most decorated field commander, she commanded immediate attention. The human emissaries have appeared simultaneously across 17 core worlds. Our most secure systems have been penetrated. Our weapons rendered useless. Grand Imperator Orzon remained unnaturally still upon his elevated throne, only the rhythmic clicking of his secondary mandibles betraying his agitation. His massive frame, genetically engineered for imposing dominance, dwarfed even the highest-ranking officials present. The human vessels maintained position in high orbit, reported Minister Trell of Planetary Defense, her 4 arms manipulating the holographic display at the chamber's center. They take no hostile action, but resist all attempts at scanning or engagement. Can we destroy them? High Commander Rexic demanded, his warrior caste markings pulsing with aggression. We've tried, Zella responded. Energy weapons pass through them. Physical projectiles are diverted before impact. They appear to exist partially outside normal space-time. Commander Jackson Voss, recently arrived from the Stellar Dominion via emergency quantum transport, stood rigidly at attention among the junior commanders. His direct experience with the human emissary had earned him unprecedented inclusion in this historic council. In all our history, Minister Valix observed, leaning on his staff, we have faced technological challenges but never anything like this. These, Post-humans have evolved beyond our comprehension. Evolution is a biological process, countered Minister Nexus of Science, her vibrant green carapace marking her as a member of the research cast. What these creatures describe is theoretically impossible. Consciousness cannot exist without a biological or mechanical substrate. Yet here we are. Imperator Orzon spoke finally, his deep voice silencing all others. Faced with evidence that contradicts our understanding of reality, his primary eyes narrowed as he focused on Voss. Commander, you experienced direct contact with these entities. What precisely did they offer? Voss stepped forward, conscious of the unprecedented honor of addressing the Imperator directly. They spoke of transcendence, Exalted One, a path beyond biological existence. They claimed to have discovered that consciousness is the fundamental force of the universe, not an emergent property of matter. Philosophical nonsense, scoffed Nexus. Perhaps, Voss acknowledged with appropriate deference, but they demonstrated abilities that support their claims. They appeared simultaneously across the Empire. They penetrated our most secure communications without detection. They neutralized our weapons systems with apparent ease. Orzon's massive frame shifted slightly. And they claimed they can offer this transformation to our species? Yes, Imperator. Silence fell as each considered the implications. The Volturians had expanded through the galaxy on simple principles: conquer or be conquered. Resources were finite. Security came through strength. Evolution rewarded the dominant. These weren't merely military doctrines but biological imperatives woven into Volturian genetic memory from eons of natural selection on their harsh, predatory homeworld. It's a trap, High Commander Rexic insisted, mandibles clicking aggressively. They offer transcendence but plan extinction. If they wanted us extinct, Minister Valix observed dryly, they could have acted already. They've demonstrated power beyond our defenses. In a lower chamber of the Imperial Citadel, Lieutenant Naira Keth paced restlessly. As Voss's second-in-command, she had expected to accompany him to the Collective Council meeting. Instead, she found herself relegated to the officers' waiting quarters, along with representatives from the other 16 worlds contacted by the humans. This violates all combat protocols, muttered Fleet Captain Draz, a heavily cybernetically enhanced warrior from the Outer Territories. We should be marshaling our forces, not listening to the philosophical ramblings of a species that abandoned its own physical form. That's exactly why we should be listening, countered Science Officer Vex, his aged frame nonetheless commanding respect. Any species that could evolve beyond physical limitations clearly possesses knowledge beyond our own. Keth paused her pacing. Something had been troubling her since their encounter with Emissary Novice, a subtle inconsistency in the narrative. If the humans truly transcended 70 years ago, she said slowly, why wait until now to reveal themselves? They claim to have been observing us, but to what end? Vex Santini twitched thoughtfully. An excellent question, Lieutenant. Perhaps they needed time to understand us before making contact. Or perhaps they needed time to prepare something else, Keth countered. She activated her neural interface, accessing the ship's logs transmitted from the Stellar Dominion. The emissary specifically mentioned a threat, this Hive Dominion, approaching from beyond the Galactic Rim, yet provided no substantive proof of its existence. You suspect deception? Captain Dres asked. I suspect incomplete information, Keth replied carefully. The Volturian conquest algorithm is built on total information dominance. We never enter conflict without understanding our adversaries. Yet here we stand, contemplating the most significant decision in our species' history, based solely on the word of a former enemy. She accessed the secure terminal, bypassing several security protocols with her officer clearance. The Science Ministry maintains quantum entanglement communications with deep space probes throughout the galaxy. If this Hive Dominion exists, there should be some record of anomalous activity. The terminal flashed red, denying access. Interesting, Keth murmured. The files are sealed under Imperator-level encryption. Treason to even attempt to access, Draz warned, though his tone suggested curiosity rather than censure. Knowledge is never treasonous, Vex countered, stepping closer. Try cross-referencing with astronomical survey data from the outer systems. Those are maintained on separate networks. Keth's fingers flew across the interface. There, she said finally. Astronomical anomalies reported from multiple deep space outposts over the past 15 years. Unexplained dark regions where stars simply vanish from detection, moving inward toward Empire space. She expanded the visualization. If these readings are accurate, this phenomenon will reach our outer colonies within 5 years. Exactly as the humans claimed, Vex whispered. But why would the Imperator classify this information? Drez wondered. Because panic is the enemy of control, came a new voice from the doorway. The three Volturians turned to find a shimmering figure materializing in their midst, not the same emissary from the Stellar Dominion, but clearly another post-human representative. This one's form appeared more feminine in aspect, the swirling particles of its body tinged with amber rather than blue. I am Emissary Lyra, the figure introduced itself, its voice resonating directly in their minds. And Lieutenant Keth has discovered a truth your leadership has known for some time. Keth's primary hand instinctively moved toward her sidearm, though she recognized the futility of the gesture. How did you penetrate this secure facility? Physical barriers are meaningless to our kind. Lyra responded with something like gentle amusement. Just as the barriers between species need not be absolute. Why are you here? Vex asked, his scientific curiosity evident. The Collective Council is meeting with your representative now. They meet with Emissary Novice, yes. But I sought you specifically, Lieutenant Keth. Your mind asks the right questions. Keth's antennae quivered with surprise. You've been monitoring our thoughts? Not precisely. We perceive patterns in quantum consciousness, what you might call intuition or insight. Yours shines particularly bright. Lyra's form shifted subtly. You question why we waited 70 years to make contact. Yes, Keth acknowledged. If your intentions are benevolent, why observe our conquest without intervention? Because evolution cannot be imposed, Lyra replied. It must be chosen. 70 years ago, the Volturian Empire would have perceived our offer as a threat to be eliminated. We needed you to reach a point where you could recognize the limitations of perpetual conquest. And this hive dominion? Keth pressed. Is it real? Very real, Lyra confirmed, her form projecting images directly into their minds. Vast swarms of insectoid machines systematically dismantling entire star systems, converting all matter into more of themselves. They are consciousness too, but of a singular purpose, consumption and replication. They do not conquer. They consume. Why show me this? Keth asked. I am not on the Collective Council. I have no influence over the Empire's decision, because the Council debates philosophy while missing the practical truth. Lyra moved closer. The Volturian Empire conquers because you believe resources are finite, that power must be taken, that advancement comes through domination. We've discovered these are the delusions of biological existence. With a gesture, Lyra created a holographic display showing two possible futures, one of Volturian worlds falling to the mechanical swarm, another of Volturians evolving into energy beings similar to the humans. Their consciousness expanding beyond physical limitations. You must return to the council chamber, Lyra instructed. Your commander values your perspective. Make him understand what's truly at stake. In the Grand Imperator's sanctum, the debate had grown heated. 3,000 cycles of Volturian dominance cannot end in surrender to former prey species. Minister Drex of Cultural Preservation insisted, his ceremonial armor pulsing with outrage. This is not surrender, Commander Voss countered, surprised by his own boldness. It's evolution. For 3 centuries, we've conquered because we believed it was the only path to security and advancement. What if we were wrong? Before any could respond, the massive doors to the chamber opened, admitting Lieutenant Keth with an urgency that violated all protocol. Lieutenant, Voss began, this interruption is necessary, Commander, she interjected, approaching the central display. Exalted Imperator, esteemed Council, I bring confirmation of the human claims. Using her officer access, she displayed the astronomical data she had discovered, showing the approaching darkness at the galaxy's edge. The Hive Dominion is real, she announced. And Ministry of Science projections confirm it will reach our territories within 5 standard years. Our current military capability will be insufficient against this threat. Minister Nexus's carapace flushed dark with anger. How did you access classified data? The classification itself proves the humans speak truth. Keth countered respectfully, but firmly. Our leadership already knows of this threat, but has found no conventional defense against it. Grand Imperator Orzon rose to his full, imposing height. The lieutenant speaks truth that I had hoped to shield you from until solutions were found. Our deep space monitoring has tracked this approaching entity for 15 cycles. It consumes everything in its path, resources, planets, stars themselves. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations and demands for explanation. Orzon raised a limb for silence. I have reviewed all tactical projections. The Imperator continued gravely. Even if we consolidated all Imperial forces and technologies, our probability of survival against this entity is less than 12%. As if timed to this revelation, the air in the center of the chamber shimmered, and emissary Novice appeared, its mercurial form casting prismatic reflections across the obsidian walls. Forgive the intrusion, Novice addressed the assembly, but your time for deliberation has ended. The Hive Dominion has accelerated its approach, having detected our presence in your territory. They perceive all advanced consciousness as competition to be eliminated. Orzon stepped down from his throne platform, approaching the human representative with dignity rather than hostility. 3 millennia ago, the first Volturian Imperator united our warring tribes with a simple philosophy: strength through conquest. It has defined us ever since. His massive frame seemed suddenly weary beneath its armor. You ask us to abandon what has made us Volturian. Not abandon, Novice corrected gently. Transcend. Keep your identity, your history, your unique perspective, but evolve beyond the limitations that drive you to endless war. And if we refuse? High Commander Rexic challenged. Then we will not interfere with your choice, Novice replied simply. We will withdraw and allow the Volturian Empire to face the Hive Dominion alone. We offer evolution, not coercion. Voss moved forward to stand beside his lieutenant. How would this transcendence work? Would we simply cease to exist as we are? Your consciousness would transfer to quantum matrices initially, Novice explained, experiencing a brief period of dual existence as your awareness expands beyond biological constraints. Then your physical forms would be repurposed according to your collective will. And what exists beyond? Minister Valix asked, his aged voice quavering slightly. What reality awaits us if we take this path? In response, Novice's form expanded, filling the chamber with points of light that coalesced into a galaxy-spanning network of energy patterns. Billions of interconnected consciousnesses forming something greater than their individual parts. This is what existence looks like to us, Novice explained as the Volturians gazed in wonder at the display. Every star, every planet, every thinking being connected in ways physical senses cannot perceive. The barriers between species, between matter and energy, between time and space, all revealed as the illusions they always were. Lieutenant Keth felt something brush against her consciousness, a glimpse of existence without limitations, of understanding beyond language, of connection to everything. It lasted only a moment before receding, leaving her profoundly changed. I volunteer, she announced suddenly, surprising even herself. If transcendence requires proof of concept, I offer myself as the first Volturian to undertake the transformation. Naira, Voss whispered, using her personal designation for the first time in public. The risk is necessary, she finished. Our species stands at an evolutionary crossroads, Commander. Someone must take the first step. Grand Imperator Orzon studied her for a long moment, then turned to face the assembled council. For 3,000 cycles, the Volturian Empire has evolved through conquest. We believe dominance was our destiny. His voice resonated throughout the chamber. But true evolution has always required adaptation to new threats, new realities. He turned back to Novice. We will not surrender our identity or our history, but we will explore this path of transcendence, beginning with volunteers, assessed under strict protocols. A wise decision, Imperator, Novice acknowledged. The transformation process can begin immediately with Lieutenant Keth, observed by your scientists and officials. What follows will be determined by the Volturian people themselves. As the human emissary and the Volturian leadership began discussing implementation details, Commander Voss approached Lieutenant Keth privately. You understand the risk you're taking? He asked quietly. This transformation may be irreversible. All evolution is irreversible, Commander, she replied. For too long, we've confused stagnation with strength. The Volturian Empire conquered because it could not imagine another path to security. She gazed at the galactic display still hovering above them. Perhaps true strength lies in becoming something greater than conquerors. Voss's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. When did my tactical officer become a philosopher? Perhaps when I realized that tactics without vision lead only to fighting the same battles indefinitely. Her compound eyes met his directly. The humans could have destroyed us, Commander. Instead, they waited 70 years to offer us partnership. What does that reveal about the nature of true advancement? Before he could respond, Emissary Novice approached them. The preparation chambers have been established. Are you ready, Lieutenant Keth? She straightened to her full height, performing the traditional Volturian salute, not to the human emissary, but to her commander and her imperator. I am ready. What should we expect? Voss asked Novice. The unexpected, the emissary replied, a ripple of what might have been humor passing through its fluid form. That is the nature of true evolution. As Lieutenant Keth followed the emissary from the chamber, she felt a curious lightness, as if she were already shedding the weight of biological imperatives that had driven her species for millennia. Behind her, the Collective Council continued its historic session, planning for a transformation that would reshape not just Volturian society, but the very definition of Volturian existence. 3 days later, when Keth emerged from the transformation chamber, she no longer wore the exoskeleton of a Volturian officer. Her consciousness inhabited a form similar to the human emissaries, a swirling collection of particles that maintained the general shape of her former body but radiated with new awareness. When she spoke to the assembled officials and scientists, her voice resonated directly in their minds, carrying emotions and concepts beyond conventional language. I remain Naira Keth, she assured them. I maintain my memories, my loyalty to our people, my Volturian identity. But I see now what was hidden before, the connections between all things, the limitations we accepted as immutable laws. She extended what had once been a hand, now a flowing collection of energy particles. This is not the end of the Volturian Empire. It is the beginning of the Volturian ascendancy. Within 1 standard year, 10,000 Volturians had volunteered for and completed the transformation process. Within 5 years, as the Hive Dominion reached the outer territories, the entire species had evolved beyond physical form, their consciousness expanded beyond biological limitation. The Volturian Empire, which had conquered 347 worlds through force, did not end in defeat as so many empires before it. Instead, it transcended the very concept of empire itself, joining humanity and 16 other ascended species in what came to be known as the Cosmic Collective. They ruled not through fear, but through the one force that had always been stronger, evolution itself.